Hey friends, and thank you for tuning in to the Occlusal Table, where we bridge dentistry with business, culture, and current events. I'm your host, Taylor Jackson, and for today, we'll be taking a deeper look into AEGD residencies and learning how to match into your top program. Let's get started.
Hi, I'm Dr. Alexandria Cobb. I'm a recent dental school graduate, and I am from Cincinnati, Ohio, and I went to the University of Kentucky for undergrad, University of Cincinnati for my master's of public health, and I will be at an AEGD in Atlanta, Georgia.
Dr. Smith. I attended Tennessee State University for undergrad, and I'm also from Memphis, Tennessee, and I will be attending the AEGD in Springfield, Missouri.
Hey y'all, my name is Dr. Cummings. I am a recent graduate of Meharry Medical College School of Dentistry. I am also a 2016 graduate of Tuskegee University. I will be doing my AEGD at Detroit Mercy.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Dr. Jared Graham. I am from Decatur, where it's greater. I went to Tennessee State University for undergrad, and I am a recent graduate of Meharry Medical College, and I will be attending a AEGD here in Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh my goodness, I am so proud of you guys. And thank you so much for being on the show today. So let's go ahead and jump into some questions. So what was your dental journey like? Like getting to dental school, like what made you interested in dentistry? Go ahead and share with us your dental journey.
So any particular order, doesn't matter. Well, I'll go ahead and pop it off. So my dental journey was very different from a lot of people. It took a while for me to get where I'm at. For example, I went through about 4 application cycles, took the DAT 5 times, been denied from plenty schools until I even got an interview. But yeah, so my journey was a little rough, but my advice would be to stay resilient. If it's something you really want, then you keep pushing at it. Did I need to add more to that?
I can jump in. I also did a non-traditional route. Went to undergrad, then grad school, took a year off, and then worked for 2 years. And while I was at that job, I was miserable because it was just like really boring. And I knew eventually I wanted to help people in some sort of way. So I did look into dentistry. I applied, took the DAT, got some interviews, and eventually got in.
I am a traditional student, so as soon as I graduated in 2014 from Tennessee State, I came on to Meharry. My journey coming here pretty much stemmed from curiosity in dentistry. As a child, I guess my dentist kind of led the way for me and, told me things that I needed to do to get into dental school. And I think being here now, I can say this is probably my dream job.
For me, like Jared, Dr. Graham and Dr. Cobb, mine was non-traditional as well. I knew from a very young age that I wanted to be a dentist. I absolutely love going to the dentist. I did apply like my senior year of undergrad, took the DAT, everything, and did not get in. I took a 2-year gap year, worked at Delta Dental Insurance Company in Atlanta, and like Alexandria, absolutely did not like it. But it definitely helped with the application process and the interviewing process to get into dental school. So that was definitely a plus, but I definitely applied again, got in, everything was all good. But I definitely think this is my dream career. Absolutely love it.
So kind of like what everybody was saying, everybody has different routes to get to dental school. We all came from different walks of life, and we're all here as the blueprint, moving forward into our dream career. So then let's move forward with the residencies that you guys are about to enter into. Why did you choose an AEGD over a GPR? Or what do you think were some of the differences? What was something that really stuck out to you about your program even?
So I'll pop it off again. The reason I wanted to do an AEGD because I wanted to pick something that was similar to how I wanted to practice, meaning I didn't want to go to a residency program where I'm on call. Like, it's no way I wanted to be woke up out of my sleep at 2, 3 in the morning to come for some type of dental emergency. I want to be in there from 8 to 5, and after 5, I have leeway to do whatever I want. And the reason I chose the AEGD because I wanted to make sure that I was 100% completely ready. I wanted to work on my speed and really just become more comfortable. You know, not saying I'm not comfortable now, but I wanted to become even more comfortable before I'm really just out there on my own.
And say one of my main reasons was I did not want to be on call. I think that I do well with a set schedule, and I don't think I'm too flexible like that. Don't want to be under too much stress. I want to know exactly what I'm doing that day and what time I'm doing it. Also, my program director was very personable. He gave us some strengths and weaknesses about the program, and that's what really set my mind on that program.
And I'm like trending like my other colleagues. I also did not want to be on call. And I wanted to be in somewhere that would be more private practice based rather than hospital based, or like I wanted to be more clinically based so I could work on my speed, work on my skill. But mainly I just didn't want to be on call.
I feel like I'm just repeating everything that everybody said because I didn't want to be on call either. I did not want to be in the hospital. I did not want my weekends taken away from me. I literally wanted to have a set schedule, 9 to 5, 8 to 5, whatever, what have you. Definitely also chose this program, Detroit Mercy, because they also have classes as well. So I kind of wanted to take some head and neck courses. I know we took it freshman year, but we need a refresher just before we get out into the real world. And of course, like building speed, building confidence. We only learn so much in the 2 years of being in dental school, the 2 clinical years in dental school. So I just wanted to do a residency that's going to allow me to kind of hone in on my skills and whatnot as well.
All right. And Dr. Cummings touched on it a little bit. So what was the criteria that you guys used when choosing the schools? Was it that they had extra supplemental classes? Was it the location that mattered to you? What was it that you used to say, okay, I'm only going to apply to these schools versus applying to these schools? And then also talk about the pass versus match, because some of you all went the pass direction versus some people going the match direction.
I can start off. Ooh.
Go ahead, Dr. Cummings.
Yeah, so in regards to like choosing which programs to I guess apply for, definitely was looking for programs that were based out of school. I wanted a program that had classes. I wanted a program that was really big on community service. I think us just being Maharians, like we're servant leaders like day in and day out. So I definitely wanted to be in a place where they stress the importance of community service. I also wanted to be in a place where they treated children. I know some AEGD programs don't. And I know talking with Taylor a lot, I was kind of back and forth between like peds or general. And just to kind of figure that out for me, I really wanted a place that also saw children. Detroit Mercy does it all. As far as the pass and match, I applied to both, paid money for both. I did not interview for any match programs though. Actually, let me take that back. I sure did. But as far as the pass, I don't think it was really that much of a difference. It's just the figuring where you're going, like figuring it out is a little bit different. The pass process is more so like you interview, they send you something in a week or so saying like, hey, like we want you, please let us know in 48 hours, versus match, you're like interviewing and you're just waiting till January to see if you did well or not.
So for me, when choosing schools, one thing that was important to me was location. I went to, go to at least a new city I've never been to, although it would be just a year. I never know if I'm going to stay in that city or like where that's going to lead me. So I want to go to a place that I at least wanted to go to. I didn't want to be somewhere where I knew I wouldn't be happy for at least a year. I looked at places that I knew I would get like a well-rounded dental education. Like we weren't just focusing on one procedure, but doing a plethora of procedures that I could improve on. For pass and match, like Dr. Cummings said, the main difference is when you find out from the schools whether or not you get in. So I applied to both pass and match programs. That's not usually the best, because in some cases you would get into a school and you have like 2 days to decide whether or not you'd want to go to that program, but yet you haven't heard from your other match schools, because you'll hear from them a little later in the application cycle. So it eventually worked out. I did go with a match program, but that's really the difference. It's the same application process. They have the same requirements. So yeah, that's why I chose what I did.
Both pass and match, more so match programs. And I'd say the one thing that I was looking for was definitely not location, because where I chose is so random. But as during my interview, my program director mentioned all the things that they do, the well-rounded experience that we get from them. And he also mentioned that he goes to the hospital every Friday, every other Friday, and that we would be able to go do operations with him in the OR. So that's kind of what sold me. That way I get somewhat of a hospital experience, but I'm not drowned in the hospital setting.
All right, so I applied to both pass as well as match programs. And when applying to these programs, I wanted to find something that was heavy in cosmetics. You know, that's the field I really wanted to go into. But then also I had to keep in mind location, because I have an 8-year-old daughter who lives in Atlanta. So I didn't want anything too far from her. So I applied to a few programs, and one of the programs I applied to because of location was here in Nashville at Matthew Walker through the University of Tennessee. And they gave me an interview, and they're also through pass. After the interview, they sent me an offer. So with this offer, I had a week to let them know if I wanted to accept it or not. So in that meantime, I also had an interview with this big time cosmetic dentist, and I really wanted that job. So I hit him up, and I basically was like, hey, I have an offer on the table, but I would rather come work for you. And he essentially told me, I think a residency program would be good for you. So pretty much I didn't get the job. So here I am now. I have this offer where it's not too far from my little girl. I don't have anything else on the table. So I said, you know what? I'm already living in Nashville. I'm comfortable with the area. I can do one more year here. So I went ahead and accepted the position here. And the only thing with what makes pass and match, a little difficult, as soon as I accepted the offer from Matthew Walker, I say maybe like a week and a half later, I got another interview from Tufts, and they're really big on cosmetics up there. They have a very good PROS program, but I pride myself on being a man of my word. So I already signed the contract, so I went ahead and turned them down, and I just kept rolling with Matthew Walker.
All right. So we talked about the criteria that you chose for, choosing the different programs that you applied to. But what about your CV? What was on it that you think stood out? What do you think is something that programs are really looking for in your CV? Was it leadership? Was it community service? What do you think is something or any type of tips that you'd get to someone preparing their CV for an AEGD program?
I can start off. So one thing about your CV is don't lie, but if you are going to lie, stick to it. I had one interview, they would pick random things off my interview and ask me, what was this? Like, what did you do? Various things. So be honest. That would be my advice. Things AEGDs were looking for: leadership. A lot of them asked me about being the vice president of the class. They loved asking me about, I don't know, it's just like, okay. But so leadership, they loved leadership. They didn't really harp that much on community service. Maybe like my big community service, like being on the logistics committee for Oral Health Day at Meharry. That was pretty much any dental-based leadership skills. They really loved to ask me personally questions about, and like how that affected my time in dental school, what I learned from it, what did my job entail. So I would say leadership, and again, be honest on your CV or stick to the lie.
really stood out to the program that I am at now. In my extracurriculars, I stated that I do intramural softball for my hair with my class. So my program director asked me about it, and he said, "You know what, Kanisha, we need somebody on our softball team. So I think you would be a great fit." And I also did mention hot yoga, and he was so enthused. I used to love doing hot yoga every week or so. He was so enthused by those extracurriculars. So I think adding fun things that you do in your spare time definitely will help in the process.
For me, I would say, well, for my CV, you know, extracurriculars, your community service, your leadership stuff. I think they just want to make sure that you're a well-rounded candidate. In terms of my interview, I know actually also sometimes people are big on research as well. My first interview with Houston, they actually asked me about my research, my hookah study research that we are doing, you know, me, you, and Jared. So they actually asked me about that, and I was like, okay, you know, I could talk about it, you know, say a little something. And I think they did ask a little bit of questions, some questions in regards to community service, but I know Detroit Mercy was more so community service based. They didn't ask me anything about research. So I would just say, like, if you're applying to a school or thinking about a school that is, you know, kind of research heavy, like, make sure you have something research based on your CV and can talk about it.
But one advice I could definitely give you, and that would help a lot, as you go through your dental school career, you make sure anything you go to in terms of community service, go ahead and put the date and make like a little note in your phone, put the date in it, and put the event down so you can have some type of recollection of it. Because when it comes to do your CV, you're going to be scrambling like, man, what community service did I do? Or when did I do this? You know what I'm saying? So it's best to kind of have like a track of what you've been going through, so you don't have to scramble and then try to look at somebody else's CV, aka Taylor's, because I got a lot of stuff from hers that I added on mine. So yeah, definitely try to keep up with that. And then also, you know, if you could update your CV as you go through dental school. That would be the smart thing to do. Which, of course, I didn't do that. I waited to the last minute before applications were due or whatever, and I tried to scramble and grabbed a few of my classmates' CVs and combined it all and made mine from that. So
one tip I have is make sure you have somebody like faculty at your school or somebody that's trustworthy that knows how to write CVs and resumes. Have them look over that CV and have them tell you some things you could do better, or maybe take this off, and try to keep your CV too long, but straight to the point in everything that you list on there. Two people look at it if possible.
And I'm going to piggyback off of Dr. Graham. I started my CV my second year of dental school. So literally, if we had to do extra credit for a class that you had to donate a toy, I write that down. I went through my past emails because we have a specific person who emails us. So I went through all my emails, correspondence with her, wrote them down, just had a Word document on my computer. Maybe every few months, I would just update it, put everything I put down. So when it was time for application, I wasn't scrambling as much because I didn't have to go back all the way to D1, D2 year, because I sort of started that list early, but just keep it updated and do as much as you can.
So moving forward with personal statements in the application, what was your story? Do you think that centering it around being a part of general dentistry or being a part of cosmetic dentistry, like what Dr. Graham was saying, what do you think is something that stood out in your personal statement, or how did you come together and form your personal statement? Or what tips would you give to those that are trying to construct theirs now?
So when writing my personal statement, I kind of grabbed the one I used from when applying to dental school and kind of tweaked it a whole bunch, and it kind of catered it towards AEGD/cosmetics. But the best advice I can give is to make sure somebody reads it over, because that person for me was our very own Taylor Jackson. She took mine, flipped it, switched it, dunked it, whatever, and made it to where it was presentable and good for an AEGD. And she's very good at stuff like that. But find you somebody who's good with personal statements, have them tweak it, because without her, I would not be where I'm at, most definitely, because my personal statement was trash before her. So if you really, she's the one that needs to be giving advice on personal statements during this segment.
Thank you, Jared.
So my advice for personal statement, like Jared said, I use part of my dental school entry personal statement for my residency personal statement. But for mine, I went to focus on 3 things. So it was leadership, community service, and teamwork. So that sort of dealt with like clinical stuff. And I sort of had those like 3 examples and just showed how I executed those bullet points and then like essentially how those are important to residency and whatnot. I tailored mine towards general dentistry. Have people look over it. I just had my parents look over it. But if you don't have anyone, one thing I would suggest is like there's a website online where like it will read you whatever you type in out loud. And so that way you can catch a lot of errors, or if you're like just running on about certain topics. So if you like physically hear your statement back, you'll be able to catch a lot of things. And I also use Grammarly, the free kind. I wasn't willing to pay for the other one. So that caught a lot of stuff. That's just in case. You can use that in addition to have someone looking over it.
All right. So then to keep on moving along with the application. So you have your CV, you have your personal statement, you have your list of schools. So then when talking with your mentors or any type of professors, when it comes down to requesting for a letter of recommendation, who did you go to? Was it someone who you've worked with? Was it someone that was a teacher specifically, or someone in administration, or someone who you've shadowed with? Any tips for getting your letters of recommendation and the timeline of it?
My tip is to ask early. I had several people tell me no, which is so unfortunate for them. So yeah, ask early and like remind people, okay, you said you're going to write this, like the application opens in May. I'm going to send you the link, and let that person know the link has been sent. And like, if they hadn't get your letter by like July, call them, email them, find them, say, I'm waiting for my letter. They should know what's up, but obviously they don't, because people will say no.
Definitely start early. Again, I'm more of a last minute type of guy. So now I'm struggling trying to find teachers to write letters, but I did come across some good ones that were able to, turn it around pretty quickly. But when picking people to write letters, I try to pick people that had a little pool, or people that, had some rank to them. So, I reached out to the lady that's over restorative. But also with her, she's one of the ones where she's so busy, it's a lot on her plate. I actually never got one from her, but I had some from people that I've already asked previously before her, people that I'm close with. So yeah, but definitely the main thing is starting early, because you have to realize you have a whole class of people who are pretty much asking the same professors for letters of recommendation. So you don't want to be at the end. You definitely want to catch it up front, and try to get those letters out the way early, and it'll save you a lot less stress that you're going to experience down the road.
I'd piggyback off of what Dr. Cobb and Dr. Graham said, start early, ask early. Some people tell me no as well. You also want to ask people that you actually have a relationship with, if you can. Like, you want to start building those relationships so they don't write you just a generic type of letter. Also, I would ask people that are like the chair of the departments as well. Like Jared said, like they may have a little pool, they may have a little rank, some places. So, just ask early, stay up on them, keep asking for them to submit it. And when you are ready, like make sure you have your CV and personal statement ready so they know who you are, what to write for you, and whatnot.
I would say find somebody that can vouch for you both didactically and clinically. So someone you worked with in the clinic for quite a few times, they can definitely say that you've done well on procedures and you know what you're doing in clinic. Also, I would have backups just in case you do have no, always have a backup plan. And of course, do it early, because I was also one of the people that kind of waited late, and then I also had a no, but I did not have a backup plan. So I was scrambling trying to find somebody to write a letter, which thankfully somebody did get one in quite a few days for me. But not everyone will be lucky enough to get someone who's willing to do something so fast or get a quick turnaround.
So then with applying and getting those letters of recommendation, did you guys do any externships or shadowing? Did you guys have a job? What do you think helped cater to your clinical experience when applying for these programs?
Well, I didn't do any externships, but I did have a job, a little part-time job where I worked at a dentist office down the street. And really, it's all we did was pretty much scale and pro fees and take radiographs. So I mean, it made me a little bit more comfortable in terms of that in the clinic. But yeah, guess I'm not a good person for this question.
First year, I had a job over the summer while studying for Part 1 boards, and that kind of helped me clinically. I also did not do an externship, but I also did shadow a couple of dentists in my free time.
So then moving on to the interviews, what were the interviews like when you guys stepped in there? Were they virtual? Were they in person? What kind of like crazy questions did you guys get? What was your interview experience like?
So mine was well, I'm sorry, my mom would kill me if she heard me saying mine's. My interview was virtual. And with me, I feel like I can talk to anybody. So I always tell myself, if I get an interview, then I'll be good. And then I had a panel full of women. So, you know, me, you know, Jay Smooth here, I can sweet talk anybody. So, you know, mine was more of a conversation. You know, I cracked a few jokes, but I also had the upper hand because I would say maybe a week before my interview, I had a classmate who had an interview at this same place. And so they told me all the questions. So when it was time for my interview, you know, I was 100% completely prepared and I killed it. That was probably the best interview I ever did in my life because I already had the answers memorized in my head. I practiced what I was going to say in the mirror, how I looked when I said it. I even had my jokes ready. So, you know, this was probably the best interview I ever had. And it made sense because as soon as my interview was over, I got an offer from them in my email probably within 5 minutes. So definitely talk. If you got classmates that applied at that program, definitely talk to them because they can give you the key to getting into these residency programs.
I only had one interview that was in person, the rest were virtual. As far as during the interviews, one of the questions I was asked, and I remember this till this day, they said, teach me something that's not dental related. And the first thing that came to mind, because it was around Thanksgiving, my sister and I were gonna have a potluck with some friends, and I was making candy yams. So I taught them how to make candy yams. And after that, they were just so enthused and they loved it.
My interviews were 100% virtual. I tried to just be myself during the interviews. I said, if one thing, I'll look good in these interviews. Buy yourself a ring light. That's if they're virtual. That's very important. Set up have your station set up. Make sure your lighting is good. Because in some of the interviews, I was like, these people look crusty. And I was like, I look clear. I was like, I look great. But that didn't help me though. But still, it's like, if you look good, you do good and you feel good. So that's my big thing. Like, look the part, look like you're prepared, look like you didn't just like set up your phone just against the wall and you're just like, it's looking at the ceiling and they can't see your face. But for mine, like I just prepared. I had certain things like that I figured they would ask me. I would have those sort of like planned. And for me, honestly, I had my notes app open. So just in case I did stumble, I could like scroll and sort of see where my talking point was. I try to be honest. My weirdest question I had was someone asked me like, who's your favorite villain? And I couldn't think of anything. I said a James Bond villain because they explained their plan before. I don't know. And so I was just like, that, like literally the interview was going so well. And that was the last question. I was like, okay. But yeah, get a ring light, make sure you have great Wi-Fi, good camera, you look good.
You should have said Cersei or Cersei from Game of Thrones.
But she's not my favorite.
What? You didn't like her?
No.
You gotta admit she was pretty bad. Like, I was about to say bad A, but she was a bossed up villain though, man. You had to like her.
Like,
I mean, we didn't like her, but
yeah, she like let her kids die.
Yeah.
No.
She didn't want her kids to die. Like she didn't want none of her kids to die. They just happened to die. But again,
all right.
They just had okay. All right, I'm gonna let you
We'll talk about
rewatch those seasons, Jared, because
oh, seriously, hold on. She did not want, like, for example, the girl, she wanted to save her. That's why she sent her brother over there to get her. Joffrey, he was poisoned, and Thomas, he jumped out the window.
Yeah, but no,
not my favorite.
She was literally in love with her twin brother. That's disgusting.
That is right. I don't think you can get over that. Like you can't.
It was overlooking the incest.
Right. You gotta pick another one. Go back to the drawing board with that one, Jared.
All right.
Those sound like some pedo program questions. The teach me something non-dental related in 5 minutes and what's your favorite villain and things like that. Those are like pediatric questions. So those are nice. But so what about like how many residents do you guys like co-residents do you guys have? Is it a small number? Was that important to you?
So with my program, it is 6 of us total, 3 guys and 3 girls. So we split right down the middle. In terms of numbers, I mean, it didn't really matter to me, honestly. As long as I got what I needed from the program, I will get what I need from the program. That's the most important thing to me.
It also did not matter to me. There are 3 of us, 2 girls and 1 guy. As of now, I just found out I have the guy was just added on yesterday. So there were originally 2 of us, and there will possibly be 4 in all. I also just wanted to make sure I get what I wanted out of the program. And even with a small number, you know that you'll more than likely get one-on-one training and experience with the clinic.
With my program, it's just 2 of us. I think the other one's a girl. I'm not for sure. And it didn't matter to me the size of the residency pool, but I know with 2, I should be able to get like, first of all, get great overall experience, won't have issues with patients and access. And I know I'll probably get like one-on-one training with the clinic director and the specialists that come in.
For us, it's 6 of us. It's actually a second year and then 5 first years. I think it's 4 girls and 1 guy. But I kind of wanted a residency that had a small like number for their residents. I kind of didn't want to just be feeling like I'm kind of out here by myself or doing, how we say private practice dentistry, in clinic too. So I just wanted to make sure that I had somebody there if I needed, to kind of help me. And I just kind of wanted that small number.
So then any advice that you'd give to someone that's applying to be in your shoes one day?
My advice would be to research the programs like thoroughly, like if you can find a resident or someone, a previous alumni that went to your school, reach out to them. Because I was in a few interviews, like I found out like they don't get paid or they get paid very little. And like, there's a lot of issues with the current residency, like the program in general, because I've been in interviews where like the moment I logged on, I said, why am I here? So definitely adequately research the program as best as you can, because a lot of this, is hearsay, just whatever you can find, and the interviews are going to tell you all the great stuff. But so like in a few months, I'll be able to know like how the program really goes. So like based off what I know and talking to current residents, I've heard good things, but I won't know until I actually experience it for myself.
So the advice that I would give is for anybody is to honestly just stay the course. Like no matter how it looks, no matter what you're feeling, stay the course. Our journeys to dental school, all different, but we still got here. Our journeys through even this application process, all different, but we're still going where we plan to go. I would definitely say step out on faith. University of Detroit Mercy was not my first pick in the beginning. But as I started to kind of think through some things, attend some of their like open houses and stuff, I realized that like this was the place for me, especially because it's home as well. So yeah, just stay the course, just keep the faith.
And what's for you will always be for you, for sure. So yeah, that's my advice.
I'd say if you can, go visit the program sites if it's not in the city you're in, because I was kind of taken aback. Of course, I knew Springfield was not a big city, but when I got there, I said, no, I don't know if I can do this for a year. There's nothing there, literally nothing there. So what am I going to do in my free time? I don't know. We'll play softball, find something to do. Also, if you can, like they said before, reach out to a current resident or somebody that has been there. If you're lucky, the program director will have them reach out to you during the process and ask the good questions, the bad questions, what they like about the program, what they do not like about the program, because it could just so happen that you might not like that about the program. So that could kind of bring it down on your ranking list. I did have one program during one of the information sessions. Everybody was asking, oh, I heard the program was unorganized. And to hear that from so many people that have not been in the program kind of made me see, oh, this program is not for me, because I do not want to be in a program that I can't benefit from or that doesn't know what they're doing. So make sure you ask those questions because they are very important.
And thanks to Coach Graham, I expect great news from you in terms of this softball team. I need MVP numbers from you, Dr. Smith. Do not disappoint me and do not make me look bad, okay? You are a representation of me and my coaching, so I expect good things.
Well, we went out as champions, so hey, I'm with it.
Champions, baby. Champions of the world.
All right, but thank you so much for that advice. So basically, what's for you is for you, and to make sure that you visit the program, because your interpretation of it may be completely different than what residents may be putting out there, because just like what Dr. Cobb was saying, they're meant to just say some of the good things about the program. And we have to make sure we interview the school just as much as they are interviewing us. But before we close out, if this episode has helped in any way, please be sure to give us a thumbs up or hit the subscribe button so that we can reach more viewers like you. So, closing remarks from my classmates, my good friends. Where can people find you? Instagram, email? How can people contact you if they have more questions?
So, I'm always willing to lending a helping hand or a listening ear. You can find me at jaredgrahamdds@gmail.com. Ooh, notice the email, huh? Or you can find me on Instagram, Jared Graham. It'll probably be changing soon, but you can find my hashtag Smiles by Dr. Graham. So you'll be seeing a lot from me. I plan on being everywhere, my face everywhere with all type of veneer cases and implants. So, hey, you're going to see a lot from your boy.
I see it for you, Jared. I really do. I know I see it for you.
You all can reach out to me. Email is Kanisha Smith, 2 @gmail.com, or Instagram, Kanisha Smith _.
You all can find me at Alexandria _Cobb on Instagram. I'm not as inept with my marketing skills as Jared is, so just Instagram.
Y'all can reach out to me. Email is cummings.jannah@gmail.com. IG is JannahMina _. Thank you.
And how do you spell Jannah? You know, that's not the most common name. No shame.
No, it's all right. Jannah, JANNAH, Amina, AMINAH, Cummings, CUMMING.
Thank you for the full government. You mind saying your social as well? Nah, just playing.
Y'all are so funny. All right. Well, that is all the time that we have for today. So just remember to stay flossing and keep flossing, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye, guys.